Hey, how you doing? Okay, this is video two. We're going to continue on with our introduction to Revit families, and we're going to continue on with the generic family as well. Okay, so in the last video, we made a very simple box, I guess, just a cuboid type shape, and we made it parametric so you can push and pull it. Okay, you probably just watched it, so you know what it was. All right, so we're going to do the same process again, but this time we're just going to make something a bit more complicated. Okay. Maybe a table. Okay. Now I know a table is not a generic model. Let's say it should be furniture, but we're going to start with a generic model. So file, new, family. I won't bother saving that. Metric generic model. Again, we should be making a table in metric furniture, but one of the beauties of metric generic model is you can, for most things, you can start there and then you can change the category or add it to another category model, which we'll cover later as well. So open. Okay, I'm going to make a very straightforward table. I might add some complexity to it and then maybe in the next video or something. Right, so reference planes again, same process. We're going to go across underneath, across on the top, left and right as well. Okay, we're going to dimension the same way to the center and toggle the equals to the same thing. This is kind of the starting format for a lot of your families actually. All right, so this time we're going to call this guy length, right? So that's the length of the table. And that's the width of the table. So select the dimension, new parameter. We call this one length. Leave it type and everything else the same. And make this guy, select that dimension, new parameter. We call this guy width. Okay. Okay. We'll make it a reasonable sort of size. So let's say 800 wide and maybe 1.1200 long. Okay. All right. So I'll just pull those parameters in where you can see them. Okay. Now, if we go into an elevation, I'm going to create the tabletop, right? So the reference plane on the top. Okay, escape. I'm going to dimension that to the reference level. Escape. Select the dimension and new parameter. I call this one height. Okay, and we'll put that at 800 high. Okay, for the sake of it, actually, there's reasons to do this. You can change the name of the reference plane. You can do it here or in the properties here. I'm just going to call this guy top. Okay, tabletop. And his reference, we call it, we select top. Okay, apply. Okay, there's no subcategories there. Okay. All right, so we're going to need the tabletop thickness. So I'm going to create another reference plane. And I'm going to introduce you to calculated parameters now in a moment. Okay, so dimension to that, escape, select the dimension, and new parameter. I'm going to call it top thickness. Okay, so if the top thickness is, let's say, 35, so we have an overall height of 800. Okay, the tabletop thickness is 35. So how long are the legs? Right now, I can't put a parameter from here to here because it's over constrained because there's that is already made up by these two parameters. So I need to calculate that parameter for the height of the legs. Okay, so I've go in here to my family types and a new parameter. I'm going to call this one leg height. Okay, and leave everything else the same. All right, so leg height right here is 0. So under formula, go to equals, type in height. It has to be case sensitive, it has to be exactly the same. Height minus top thickness. Enter. Right, so leg height is 765. Right, so if we change the height to 900, there you go. It changes with it. Okay. All right. So that's an introduction to formulas, which is something we'll go into more in the future. Okay, back into the reference plan. Let's create the tabletop actually. Okay, create, extrusion, corner to opposing corner with the rectangle tool. Lock, 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 lock. Okay. While it's still selected, I'm going to select the material, click into the little gray box there, and new parameter, table lock material. Okay. And okay. Go back into my front elevation there. I'm going to pull the grab handle up to the top reference plane, lock, and pull this one up to the bottom, up to the underside of the tabletop, lock. Okay. So look at that in 3D, we have a tabletop. Okay, I'm just going to take off the lines TL on the keyboard. Okay. Now we're going to just make this really simple in this video, and I might add complexity to it in another video. Okay. So I'm going to put a reference for the center point of the legs. Okay. So create reference plane, left and right, top and bottom. Okay. And let's just, we could have a different offset from the edge for the legs from the sides as from the front, but we're gonna make it the same. Okay. So create, sorry, not create, dimension, reference plane to reference plane. This one, this one, and this one. Okay. Now we'll make it the center of the leg or the outside of the leg. Makes more sense to be the outside corner, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to select all these dimensions by holding Control on the keyboard. Select them all, and then go to New Parameter, and I'm going to call this leg offset. Okay, leave everything else the same. I'm going to change that value, let's say, to maybe 75. Okay, and I'm going to, what do I do? I'm going to create another reference plane. Across here, across here. Hope you can still follow this. Across here, across here. So what I'm doing there is I'm making, see that little rectangle, top, bottom, on each side. That's the leg, basically. Okay. So I'm going to change the scale here so it won't overpower the screen. So dimension, 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 and dimension. Okay. So we select 4 of those. And again, just for keeping it simple, I'm going to keep the legs square. Okay. So select 4 of those dimensions and new parameter, and say leg thickness. Okay. And let's make that 75. Sure, why not? Okay. So create, extrusion, corner to corner, and lock, 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 lock. Okay. Do it again. This, by the way, when you have that still selected, there's a tool there. It's create similar. So you can click on that instead of going to the create extrusion. We do the rectangle again. Lock, 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 lock. Okay. Create similar. This time I'm going to just pick the lines just to show you a different way of doing it. Pick lines with lock ticked. Okay. Pick, 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 pick. Then use our trim to corner tool. Corners. Okay. And again, repeat similar. Lock, 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 lock. Okay. Now I'm going to press Control and select all 4 of these legs. Right, they're all selected, and go to the material, little gray box, new parameter, table leg material. Okay, okay. Go to front elevation. I'm going to align to the reference plane under the tabletop, the leg with lock selected here. Line, lock. If you don't have Revit 22 or later, then you'll have to manually lock, okay? Because that option there won't be there. Okay, and we need to, I'm going to pull these off the reference plane so I can see them locking. So align. I can actually click on multiple alignment. Okay, so I have to click on the reference level once. Lock, 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 lock. I'm going to click that off. Okay, so in 3D, there it is, a table, very simple table. But we can load that into the project and we have a table. I'm going to pick it up from there in the next video, I think, okay? Again, the usual, guys, if you haven't already subscribed, I really appreciate it when you do. It makes a difference. And yeah, see you in the next video. Thanks.